time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Angel Stadium in Anaheim, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Angels. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Wednesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Angels wrapping it up, and as far as the Angels are concerned, I'm sure they're delighted to get rid of the Dodgers, who have beaten them 5 straight this year, plus 3 at the end of last year. That's 8 in a row. That is tough for Mike Scioscia to take, that's for sure. For the Dodgers, all their numbers are just flying. They've won 13 out of 15. 5 straight over the Angels, 8 straight going back to last year, as we said. They're 8.5 games in front of the Giants, and the so-called magic number is 16. On the mound tonight, Joe Whelan for the Dodgers, and for the Angels, Garrett Richards. Garrett Richards pitched against the Dodgers last year, shut him out. In fact, over 11 innings, almost 12 innings, he's been absolutely perfect against the Dodgers. If he is perfect, that will certainly be good news for the folks here with the Angels. For the Dodgers, they conclude tonight. They're off tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, they'll fly over to Arizona and play 3 with the D-backs and then come home. The magic number right now is 16. So during the evening, we'll be watching the Giants, getting reports to see, because remember, any combination of Dodger victories and or Giant defeats that add up to 16, and the race for the title in the West will be over. So keep that in mind, and we'll be back with a good ball game, you can bet, right after this. We're down here at Angel Stadium in Anaheim, the final game of the 3-game series, and the Dodgers continuing to put up great numbers. They come here in this series, and after winning the first 2, they have now won 13 of the last 15 games they've played. For the Giants, they have lost 8 of the last 11, and thereby hangs the tail as the Dodgers lead by 8.5. The Angels trying to shake themselves. They still have 10 games left against Houston and Texas, but the days are dwindling down to a precious few. They are 4.5 games behind Texas, so for Mike Scioscia, he's going to have to go to the whip and play some fine ball if they can survive and win that second wild card. For Don Mattingly, well, let's take a look at his numbers, and it begins with Scott Schebler in left field. Then you have Chase Utley at second base. Adrian Gonzalez will be the DH. Justin Turner at third base. Andre Ethier in right. Corey Seager at shortstop. Scott Van Slyke will play first base. Jock Peterson is in center field. And Austin Barnes, the third catcher on the club, will play tonight. They have to keep A.J. Ellis rested and well until they finally solve the problems of the left shoulder of Yasmani Grandal. On the mound is Garrett Richards. Born in Riverside, California, lives, however, in Edmond, Oklahoma. That's where he went to school at the university. And for Garrett, he was a first-round pick by the Angels back in 2009. He is a typical major league starter. He's 6'3", about 215 pounds. At Oklahoma, he majored in human relations, but he says he was more interested in culinary arts, and he might have pursued that if not for baseball. A couple of notes about him. Well, when he pitches, the Angels stand a good chance of winning. They've won 14 games in which he's been involved. He's also had 5 tough losses, quality starts, where he won at least 6, allowed 3 runs, and still took the loss. He is basically a ground ball pitcher, about 1.5 ground balls to every fly ball, and he'll be tested right away by the big kid from Iowa. Scott Schebler, brief start, has a home run, scored a run, 4 for 10. Big left-hand batter checking in. Schebler in his last game, 1 for 1 as a pinch hitter, and then stayed in the game defensively. Richard, both feet on the rubber. The Angels, meanwhile, load up the right side of the infield. The first pitch to Schebler is swung on, a high fly ball to center. Back goes Trout, away back. He has hit it out. Scott Schebler bombs one over the center field fence. His second major league home run. And just like that, the Dodgers take a lead 1-0. Of course, Justin Ruggiano hit one last night leading off. So before the chairs are warm, the Dodgers lead 1-0. Schebler getting a hero's greeting, and another young Dodger talent emerges on the major league scene. Trout went back all the way and watched it go over the wall. So 1-0, and the batter now is Chase Utley. Couple of notes, first of all, about Garrett Richards. He has allowed 7 home runs this year inside of his first 50 pitches. That has really plagued him. He's allowed 16 home runs. Fastball to Utley is away, and the count 1-1 strike. Doesn't take long to warm up. The temperature is 93 degrees, although it's somewhat shocking to realize we've cooled off from a high of 106. So Utley with Gonzalez on deck, and a 96-mile-an-hour fastball is in there for a strike, and the count 1-2. So for the second night in a row, the Dodger leadoff man Ruggiano and now Schebler hit home runs. Of course, last night, Angels came right back with a home run from Cole Calhoun. 1-2 pitch is swung on and missed. So Utley having a tough time making contact. He struck out twice last night, 3 times the game won, so that's a half a dozen strikeouts. Here are the Angels defensively. Cron and Featherston, Ibar and Freeze. Murphy, Trout, and Calhoun, and Perez handling Richard. You know, there are a lot of numbers as Adrian Gonzalez tunes up. Adrian about ready to check in. The interesting thing to keep in mind, starting tonight, the Dodgers have 24 games to play till the rest of the year. If the Dodgers win 12 of the 24, the Giants would have to win 20 of 23 for a tiebreaker. Next pitch, breaking ball in for a strike, and the count 1-1 to Adrian Gonzalez. So Clayton Kershaw gave the Dodgers a big lift. Zach Greinke gave the Dodgers a big lift. We'll take a look about Joe Whelan tonight. The 1-1 pitch, check swing, pitch inside for ball 2. 2-1 the count to Garrett Richards. Garrett has 14 wild pitches, most in the league. 2-1 pitch, fastball fouled off, 2-2. His catcher tonight is Carlos Perez. Perez has caught 3/4 of the innings that Richard has pitched. His ERA would be 3.9. When Iannetta has caught him for 30 some odd innings, his ERA is 3.4. Richard has had 2 bad games. Otherwise, he's pitched very, very well. 2-2 pitch on the way. Adrian takes in the dirt. June the 6th, Richard allowed 6 runs in 2/3 of an inning. August the 23rd, he allowed 7 earned runs in 5 innings. So if you took those 2 outings, pushed it aside, his earned run average would be 3.1. The 3-2 pitch on the way, and that's taken high for ball 4. As you know, starting pitchers are like racehorses. They go a distance, and sometimes they do better than the last time out. With Richards, you look at him, and if he has a 5-day rest, his earned run average is 2.9. He has a 4 days rest. His earned run average is 4.3, almost 2 runs. Well, he's pitching on 4 days rest. And as we mentioned, he allows home runs early in the game, and sure enough, the leadoff man hit one out. 7 of the 16 home runs have come inside his first 50 pitches. Fastball inside at the elbow. Turner just did get out of the way. They like to crowd Turner. They don't want him to extend his arm, so he also pays a price. He's been hit by pitch 12 times. 1 ball and no strikes to the redhead. Gonzalez at first, 1 out, first inning, and the Dodgers leading 1-0. Next pitch swung on and missed. Another fastball at 96. The Richards can really bring it, the way the ball players talk. His fastball right there at 96. He also has, that's the 2-seamer that sinks. He also has a 4-seamer that's been clocked occasionally at 99. Garrett out of a stretch, looks over his shoulder at first. Now comes to his hitter, fastball fouled away. That was 96 again. Along with that good fastball, he has a very good slider. He has a curveball and a changeup. His slider is kind of a John Smoltz slider, and those who know say it's certainly one of the best sliders in the game. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Turner waiting. Andre Ethier on deck. 1 out. Dodgers lead 1-0. Richards set at the belt. Now raises up around the collarbone. And the 1-2 pitch is swung on and missed. Throwing hard. That was 95. So he never let up on Justin Turner. 2 strikeouts. And the batter now will be Andre Ethier. Of course, this is the time of year when fellas start to dip in production. You figure a lot of it has to do with the end of the year and fatigue. For Mattingly, he's trying to refresh his players, giving them some time off. Ethier didn't start last night, did finish up. So 2 down, Gonzalez at first. They're not going to hold him. And an off-speed pitch, a little slider on the corner for a strike, and the count 0-1. Andre hitting .297, 13 home runs, 43 runs batted in. Richard set, looks over his shoulder, comes back to his hitter in the dirt. Nice block by Carlos Perez, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Dodgers will go home tonight. They're off for a good portion of tomorrow. Then tomorrow evening, the team will fly over to Arizona and play the Diamondbacks Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Against Arizona so far this year, Dodgers have won 9 of 12. Here's the 1-1 pitch, chopper up the middle. Ibar's on the bag, flips, and that's all he has to do. So the Dodgers get a run as Scott Schebler leads off the ball game. And the young rookie, having had a big year at Oklahoma City, drives a fastball over the center field fence. And at the end of half an inning, Dodgers 1, Angels coming up. Leadoff home run tonight. In fact, the Dodger leadoff hitters in the 3 games, a single and 2 home runs. Cole Calhoun will start it off, followed by Trout, Pujols, David Murphy's in left field. Then you have Cron, Ibar, Freese, Perez the catcher, and Featherston the second baseman. For the Dodgers, they give the ball to young Joe Whelan, and we'll see how young Joe goes. He's out of Reno, Nevada. He was a 4th-round pick by the Rangers. And the first pitch in for a high strike, and the count 0-1. So Matt Latos was supposed to pitch, sore neck. He had it yesterday. They tried to work it out, but it would not connect. So Whelan gets a chance, comes overhand with a good changeup, and just like that, no balls and 2 strikes against Cole Calhoun. Whelan, 6'3", 195, 25 years old, signed by the Rangers 7 years ago, and the right-handed fastball way outside. At Oklahoma City this year, he was 10-5, and working on a home run hitter who had a leadoff home run himself last night. But he also struck out 3 times, takes a breaking ball in the dirt, and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Last 7-game hitting streak for Calhoun. He's hitting .406, 3 home runs, 9 runs scored. Calhoun does pay a price. He has struck out 128 times, 3 times last night. Wheeling over the top, very high and away, and a 3-2 count. Waiting on deck, a very hungry Mike Trout, looking for a base hit in the series. Here's the 3-2 pitch coming up to Cole Calhoun. Whelan delivers a tapper to third. Moving to his right is Turner, gets rid of the ball and throws a strike to Van Slyke.
So one away here in the first inning. And the batter will be Mike Trout. Been a very quiet series. Trout last night went 0 for 2, did walk twice, struck out once, and in game one, probably the poorest offensive game he's ever had as a professional. He not only went 0 for 5, he struck out 3 times. So Trout checks in. Whelan's fastball is low and away. 1 ball and no strikes. Dodgers have now beaten the Angels 8 straight times going back to last year. Fastball at the knees for a strike, and the count to Mike 1-1. From Mattingly, his club swept the Angels the last 3 of last year, and they've won 5 straight against Mike Scioscia this year. Breaking ball is hit to center, not deep enough for the Angels, and it'll be Jock Peterson making the catch. So Trout hit it pretty much off the end of the bat. 2 down. Will set the Dodgers with the leather. Scott Van Slyke and then Utley. Seager at short, Turner at third. Schebler in left, Peterson in center, Ethier in right. Young, Austin Barnes handling Whelan. So 2 down, and here is Albert Pujols checking in. Whelan turns on the rubber. Tall right-hander, fastball inside. 1 ball and no strike to Albert. For Pujols, in last night's game, 0 for 4, grounding into a double play. Struck out once. The 1-0 pitch, a shot up the middle, but to his left is Seager. Picks it up and throws him out easily. So a nice inning for young Joe Whelan. A 1-2-3 inning, and at the end of 1, Dodgers lead 1-0. By Scott Schebler. Now another Dodger rookie, and it will be Corey Seager to start it off, with Van Slyke and Peterson to follow. Garrett Richards gave up the leadoff home run to Schebler. It's the first time the Dodgers have had back-to-back leadoff home runs since Carl Furillo did it in 1951, July 12th and 13th. Last night Ruggiano, and tonight Schebler. So here is Seager, left-hand hitting, check swing, foul. No balls and 1 strike to count to Corey. Seager's been in 6 games. He has 4 runs batted in. Young shortstop made 2 errors last night, but Kershaw went on through to win 6-4. Pitches away, 1-1 the count to Corey Seager. So Kershaw, along with his buddy A.J. Ellis, shoulder to shoulder in the Dodger dugout. Wherever you see one, you see the other. 1-1 pitch, off speed, no. Good fastball, which is really what Richard is staying with. Throwing 96. We haven't seen that slider that they said was so effective. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way, and that's fouled away. So Corey Seager, they keep talking about the fact he might be too big to play shortstop. Then somebody says, yeah, but how about Cal Ripken? And he's played a great year at Oklahoma City at short, although surprising reaction, made 2 errors last night, and boy, the Wolves were in the press saying, maybe he can't do it. Right now, he doesn't get an off-speed pitch and strikes out. 3rd strikeout for Garrett Richards. And the batter now, Scott Van Slyke. Van Slyke started in right field last night and had 1 hit, single to left, and scored a run. And of course, in the first game, he had as good a game as he's ever had offensively, with 4 hits and 4 runs batted in. Richard ready, and the right-handed delivers. Fastball, outside corner for a strike. Kind of dropped the arm angle a little bit on that pitch. 0-1 the count. Garrett, who might very well have been a chef if he didn't make it in baseball, comes back over the top, and there's a drive to right. Calhoun on his horse and backhands it on the run. So Van Slyke, fly ball to right field. 2 down, and Jock Peterson, the batter. Mentioning Carl Furillo and back-to-back home runs in 1951. In 1951, Furillo was leading the league in batting average, and he was hit by a pitch by Ruben Gomez of the New York Giants in the Polo Grounds. And believe me when I tell you, the Giants and the Dodgers hated each other in 1951. And Furillo went to first base, and DeRocher in the Giant dugout hollered something out to him. Here's the first pitch now to Jock Peterson, in for a strike. Furillo mentioned as he looked over at Leo gestured, come on over here. Furillo said, come on out here. And here comes Leo DeRocher. With him, right alongside him, big right-hand pitcher named Jim Hearn. Peterson fouls it away 0-2. The next thing you know, both benches have emptied. Furillo has Leo DeRocher in an arm lock at his forehead. Had he gotten him on the throat, I really think he might have killed him. But he had him right on the forehead, and Leo's cap fell off. And believe me, the top of his head turned red. It would stop traffic. Peterson fouls another one away. During the melee of all these players jumping around, down on the ground was Furillo, the league leader in hitting, with a headlock on DeRocher. Someone stepped on Furillo's hand, and he was virtually out for quite a while. All the background of home runs back-to-back games by Scoonge, as they call him, the Italian word for snail. Meanwhile, Peterson strikes out, 4 strikeouts for Richards, and at the end of an inning and a half, Dodgers lead 1-0. leading 1-0. Scott Schebler led off the game with the home run. Just as last night, Justin Ruggiano led off the game with a home run. And just like the night before, Carl Crawford led off the game with a base hit and stole second. So the Dodgers have been aggressive, and it has paid off so far. Here come the Angels now. David Murphy, C.J. Cron, and Eric Ibar. Joe Whelan was signed by Butch Metzger. He was a former National League Rookie of the Year award winner with Pat Zachary, the pitcher from Cincinnati. And Metzger tied Hook Wiltz's major league record by winning his first 12 decisions of his career with San Diego. There was another Metzger, Roger Metzger, who played shortstop for Houston. So Whelan's off-speed pitch, and he misses. Ball one. 1-0 the count. One and 0 to David Murphy. Big left-hand batter takes a strike. Whelan gets it up a notch to 91. Murphy hitting in the fourth spot, takes outside. The tough act to follow when you're hitting behind Trout and Pujols. C.J. Cron on deck. Murphy's from Houston. Left-hand batter and a tall one, fouls it away. He's 6'4", so he gives you a very nice strike zone. Checks in at 210. Went to Baylor University and was originally drafted by the Red Sox. Interesting how they found Murphy. They were looking at another player in Spring, Texas, a high school player. Murphy takes way off the plate. They were watching him, and then all of a sudden they looked over and they saw somebody throwing a tennis ball near the field. They liked the action on the throw, and the scout suddenly signed Murphy. High foul, I mean foul. It'll be Justin Turner with the play, and one hands it in foul ground. So David Murphy fouls out, one away in the second inning. Boy, another tough ball game for the Washington Nationals. They were leading the New York Mets 2-1 with Steven Strasburg. And Kelly Johnson hit a homer to tie it up. Cespedes hit a home run. And when the dust settled, the Mets had done it again. They came from behind and beat Washington 5-3. Change up in nicely for a strike. So right now, Washington leading in second place comfortably by 12 games ahead of Miami. But Washington is 7 games now behind the Mets. High fly ball, and that slow off-speed pitch. Schebler comes in and puts it away. So 5 in a row retired by Joe Whelan. And the batter now is Eric Ibar. Ibar had a double in the 9th inning last night. In game 1, he had a base hit and a walk. Eric checking in, 1-0 Dodgers, second inning. No report yet on Arizona and the Giants, but they're moving right along. They pitch outside, ball one. Giants and D-backs, no score. They're in the bottom of the 4th inning. That's Chris Heston and Zach Godley. Godley's making his final start for the D-backs. He's worked 127 innings, so they decide with the minors and the majors he's going to be moved to the bullpen to lighten his workload. He allowed 6 runs against the Cubs in his last start, but Godley was 3-0 in his first 3 big league games. 2-0 the count to Eric Ibar. Fastball, but that's down and away. Ibar very much of a contact hitter. What power he does have, 2 home runs. He's hit both of them left-handed. Giants have lost 8 of the last 11, so they have been sliding away. Waiting on deck, David Freese. Diamondbacks have won 8 of 15 from the Giants. Line drive whacked into the alley. That'll go to the wall in deep right center. Overrun a little bit by Peterson, but he gets it back in, but that was a double all the way. So with 2 down in the second inning, Eric Ibar, a bullet into right center field, tying run in scoring position, and a red-hot David Freese coming up. Take another look. Peterson blocked it, turned. That was a double all the way. So here's another hot hitter. David Freese in his last 7 games, hitting .385 and coming off last night's game where he had 3 hits. Wheeland over the top, slow curveball in for a strike. 0-1. Freese with 3 hits, including a 9th inning double last night. So the Angels have a hot hitter up there with the tying run at second base. 2 out. Strike 1 pitch on the way, fastball, but low. 1-1. Nice crowds during this series. Monday night, Labor Day, we had capacity 44,488. Last night we had 41,086. Might be the same number thereabouts tonight. 1-1 pitch coming up. Wheeland ready, back with a pitch lifted to dead center. On his horse is Peterson. It's over his head. He can't make the play. The run scores and Freese continues to be anything but cold. Freese is hot, and we have a 1-1 tie. Jock Peterson acts like he thinks he should have caught it, but I don't think so. That was a fastball straight down the middle. It went over Peterson's head. He tried to make an awkward glove hand catch on the dead run and went off the fingertips. So back-to-back doubles with 2 out. The Angels are on the board, and we have a 1-1 tie. Now the batter is Carlos Perez, the catcher. Right-hand batter, slow curveball, check swing for a strike. It looks like Wheeland is now falling into, I won't say a trap, but he's been starting all of the hitters with a slow curveball. Then tries to come back. 0-1 the count to Carlos Perez. So Freese now has hit in 8 games and about .390. There's that slow curveball again. No swing. 1 ball and 1 strike. So the Dodgers got a leadoff home run by Scott Schebler. And back-to-back doubles. And the Angels catch up to Wheeland. Schebler got them started. David Freese has got them back in the game. And we're 1-1, second inning. Wheeland comes back, fastball, foul back. He's not overpowering. That slow curveball is usually around 74. It's not the big exaggerated slow curve that Clayton Kershaw has, but it's one of those curveballs you could see it in a snowstorm. And then his fastball around 90. Joe straightens up, and his 1-2 pitch to Carlos Perez. Breaking ball, whacked to left, down the line, and going foul. Boy, Perez really gave that thing a ride. 1-2 the count. Perez caught the first game, Nick Tropiano's game, and Perez had 2 singles. He was 2 for 4 in that one. Scored a run. Dodgers winning 7-5, coming back last night winning 6-4. A little bit easier than the 3 with the Giants when they won 5-4, 2-1, 2-1. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Fastball. Got him looking. So Perez gives a curveball a ride, foul, and then frozen, but not for Freese. He doubles over the head of Jock Peterson. The run comes in, and at the end of 2, we have a 1-1 tie. September 16th, Dodgers and Rockies receive a bobblehead of two-time Silver Slugger Award winner Fernando Valenzuela. Yep, he was that good a hitter. Presented by State Farm. So for tickets, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Third inning, a 1-1 tie. David Freese, hotter than his name, doubles in the run. And in the third inning, it'll be Austin Barnes, the young catcher. Garrett Richards' fastball in for a strike. When you think about it, the Dodgers have a big disadvantage tonight. I mean, you have Joe Whelan and a rookie catcher, Austin Barnes. No experience whatsoever together in a major league game. And here they are against a team in the other league. 1-1 strike to count to Austin. He'll be followed by Schebler and then Utley. Barnes up and down with the Dodgers of late. The 1-1 pitch, a chopper to short, backhanded by Ibar, gets him out. And we have one away. Update over in Arizona, the D-backs leading the Giants 2-0 in the bottom of the fourth inning. Jared Saltamalakia hit a 2-run home run. So Barnes steps to short, one away. And here now is Scott Schebler, who walked up and hit the first pitch over the center field wall for a home run. He's the first Dodger to homer on the first pitch since Marquise Grissom way back in 2001. That was against Cincinnati. Here's that first inning in the blink of an eye. Fastball over the wall. 1-0 Dodgers. Dodgers, by the way, in that Marquise Grissom game, won 7-3. Next pitch misses to Scott. 2 balls and no strikes. Schebler, a great all-around athlete. The 2-0 pitch on the way, taken on the outside corner for a strike, and the count 2-1. Schebler, when you look at him, you say, oh, well, football player. But no, that's not true. Not only did he play baseball, he played football and basketball and soccer and ran track. Swings, doesn't get a fastball, and the count 2-2. Scott Schebler is 6'1", 205 pounds, out of Boone, Iowa. He was a 26th round pick by the Dodgers 5 years ago. The next one to him is a little low. In the minor leagues, he had 27 home runs 2 years ago. Cucamonga, 28 at Chattanooga, 13 at Oklahoma City. The 3-2 pitch. Garrett Richards delivers, swung on and missed, and down goes Schebler. So he rides the elevator from the penthouse to the basement. Home run to strikeout. And with 2 down, Chase Utley coming up. By the way, Richard has struck out 5. He is very much into the game. Utley striking out in the first inning on the heels of the home run. Chase hitting .224, 7 home runs. Richards fastball high and away, ball 1. Garrett Richards was taken in the first round back in 2009. He was 1 pick ahead of Chris Owings, who went to Arizona. There's some bigger names that came along earlier in that first round. He gets a strike to Utley. The Angels earlier in the round picked Randall Grichuk and Mike Trout. Other pitchers taken in the first round: Shelby Miller, Mike Leake, and Steven Strasburg. But Trout was right there with Grichuk. And by the way, Grichuk has really developed. Utley fouls it away. They are singing the praises of Randall Grichuk in St. Louis. One ball and 2 strikes. We have a 1-1 tie in the third. A very light breeze stirring the flags, blowing from right to left. The 1-2 pitch to Utley is taken high and away. 2-2 the count. Chase having to play every day right now, though they did spell him in one game. Justin Turner played second. Dodgers still waiting for Howie Kendricks to heal. Fast one, that a good sink to it, and down goes Utley, striking out a second time. That's 6 strikeouts for Garrett Richards. And at the end of 2.5 innings, a 1-1 tie. And has gotten very, very tough. He has struck out 6. Joe Whelan gave up back-to-back doubles in the second inning to tie up the game, and he's ready to go against Taylor Featherston, followed by Cole Calhoun, and then Mike Trout. Featherston struggling at the plate, hitting just 165. Slender right-hand batter has a look at a strike, and the count 0-1. Featherston batting 9th, went 0 for 3 last night, came out for a pinch hitter, and in the game before did go 2 for 4, scoring twice. 0-2 the count as the next pitch gets in there. Dodger numbers are really out of sight. I mean, it's hard to believe they've won 13 out of 15, 5 straight, and they've beaten the Angels 5 in a row. They want to tack on 3 from last year, 8 in a row. Featherston takes in there. Just ran off the corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Taylor Featherston, Cole Calhoun, and then Mike Trout. The 1-2 pitch on the way, breaking ball fouled off. That's that slow curveball. Featherston out of Houston, Texas, went to school at TCU. He's a second baseman in the big league. He was a shortstop helping TCU to get to the 2010 College World Series. The 1-2 fastball fouled away. So Featherston, Calhoun, and Trout. Anybody gets on, Albert Pujols. Big sigh from Featherston as he backs out. 93 degrees when the game started. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Fastball up and in, foul back. Oh, Featherston hacking away. Originally a 5th round pick out of TCU by the Colorado Rockies. Then the Cubs picked him up in the Rule 5 draft, and they sold him to the Angels. Giants are losing 2-0 early in the game in Arizona. The 1-2 pitch, fastball low and inside. 2-2. Joe Whelan substituting for Matt Latos, out with a stiff neck. Whelan ready. 2-2 pitch on the way. Slow curveball whacked inside a third and down the line. So that pitch can be good, but boy, it can be ripped. And Featherston has gone for 3, and the throw is not in time. Dodgers took a long time to get that ball back to the infield as it curled around the wall in the corner. Slow breaking ball, and that was whacked inside third down the line. Schebler went over to get it. Featherston took one look since the play was in front of him and kept on going and beat the throw head first. So now in a 1-1 tie, the Angels have a tiebreaker thanks to Featherston, his first triple of the year. And now you have Calhoun, Trout, and Pujols trying to get him home. First pitch in the dirt, ball 1. One ball and no strikes. Cole Calhoun grounded to third in the first inning. Whelan leans in to get a sign. The infield swung around towards first. Turner way off the line at third. The 1-0 pitch, Calhoun takes a strike. Calhoun, 23 home runs, 72 runs batted in, and 128 strikeouts. All the power for the Angels, really top of the order. Here's the 1-1 pitch, and that breaking ball is up. 2-1. You look at the Angels, they have 144 home runs. 91 of them are right up at the top. With Trout and Pujols together, you have 69, and the 22 for Calhoun, 91. Meanwhile, the 2-1 pitch on the way. Calhoun swings, drives it to left. Schebler going back, reaches up to make the catch. Featherston tags and scores, and the Angels take a 2-1 lead. But I'm going to go back in the books. That might be the first time in the series that the Angels have had a lead. Dodgers jumped out in the first inning, and by the fifth inning, they were leading 3-1. In game 2, they scored a run in the first inning, but didn't do anything until the 7th, and the Dodgers were leading 2-1 last night in the 3rd. So it's a little early, and the Angels finally can say we're out in front. Calhoun, sac fly to left. Featherston brings it in. And here's Mike Trout. Whelan ready. Joe over the top. Fastball a strike, and the count 0-1. Now Whelan has only one strikeout, and in a sense that shows you he has a problem. I'll tell you why in a moment. The strike 1 pitch swung on, and that's going to be hit into right field. A base hit from Mike Trout, his first hit in this series. When Featherston was up there at the plate, Whelan had 2 strikes on him and couldn't put him away. Featherston fouled off 3 pitches, and on the 8th pitch, Featherston tripled. Then Calhoun came up and had the scoring fly ball. Now Trout singles to right. So for Whelan, it is the second time around, and that can be pretty painful for a young unknown against a top-hitting ball club. So here's Pujols. Whelan, slow curveball, but high, ball 1. So Whelan basically the slow curve and the fastball. 1 ball and no strikes. Joe straightens up. Pujols bent at the knees, waist, throw to first. Trout back. Basically for Whelan, a sinking 2-seamer, a curveball, and a changeup. The curveball's been very slow. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way to Pujols. Trout holding, and it's off the plate, ball 2. Trout, of course, the complete player. He's also stolen 10 bases, albeit he's been caught 7 times. 2-0 the count. Albert Pujols, 2-1 Angels. Third inning. Wheeling straightens up. Another look over at Mike. Now Joe ready and delivers. Fastball hit wide at third. Smothered by Turner. Gets up, throws, and Van Slyke reaches out to get it. A wonderful play by Justin Turner. Wow. Van Slyke big enough to help out at the other end of a high throw. So that's a huge play. It looked like base hit. Turner scrambles, then hurries the throw, and big Van Slyke reaches out and gets it. So Pujols grounding to third, actually losing a base hit on a good play by Turner. Trout at second. Angels lead 2-1. And here is David Murphy, who fouled out in the second inning. Murph takes off the plate, ball one, 1-0. Mike Trout trying to take a good lead. Seager directly behind him. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way. David Murphy looks, and that's off the plate. 2-0 the count. On deck, C.J. Cron. Cron, who has power, went 0 for 4 last night. The 2-0 pitch on the way to David Murphy. Joe Whelan looks at Mike Trout. Next pitch is swung on and missed. Not a breath of air. Earlier there was a whisper, but not now. Joe planting the right foot, looks in to get a sign. Whelan, 25 years old, change up way off the plate. 3-1 the count. Dodgers had a leadoff home run by Scott Schebler. They had a walk and nothing else since. Schebler led the way, but now it's 2-1 Angels. And the next one in for a strike to Murphy. And they count 3-2. Jim Holbrook, the plate umpire. Mark Carlson, Trip Gibson, Gabe Morales. For Holbrook, been umpiring over 15 years. Fastball, and that's low. So ball 4 to David Murphy. 2 on, 2 out, third inning. There'll be a meeting at the mound. Austin Barnes going out to talk. All right, Wheeland and Barnes have put their heads together. Now Rick Honeycutt is going to go out and try to counsel actually the young battery. So Wheeland waiting for the pitching coach. Now Austin Barnes joins him. By the way, we have a moment to talk about Mike Trout. And of course, Trout has so much ability, he's worth the time to talk about. So as Mike Trout stands out there at second base, it should be noted he was 0 for 17 against the Dodgers since he homered against Kenley Jansen at Dodger Stadium July 31st. 0 for 17. But he finally gets a base hit right now. Mike looked like he was having a long distance chat with Jock Peterson. Jimmy Garcia gets up in the Dodger bullpen. So there's Jimmy getting ready. C.J. Cron up in the batter's box. Angels have 2 on, 2 out, a run in. They lead 2-1. Wheelan's fastball in for a strike. Pretty good sink to it. 0-1. Cron flied to left field in the second inning. He had the big home run in game 1, leading off an inning. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Fastball inside to turn him around. 1 ball and 1 strike. Wheelan, the hardest he has thrown tonight, 91 miles an hour. And he's thrown a lot of pitches in the low 70s. 1 ball and 1 strike. Joe ready. Cron waiting, and pull foul down the left field line. It was another off-speed pitch, and Cron really turned on it. Hit it foul. Angels 2, Dodgers 1. Bottom of the 3rd inning. 2-0 Arizona leading the Giants. The last we heard, Cole Calhoun's fly ball picked up a tiebreaker here in the 3rd inning. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Wheelan delivers, just missing with a sinking fastball. A little low and just off the corner. Take another look. That close. Wow. They're in the 6th inning in Arizona. D-backs leading the Giants 2-0. Here's the 2-2 pitch coming up to C.J. Cron. Slow curveball swung on and missed. The out recorded at first, and that's the inning. So a triple by Featherston, fly ball by Calhoun. The Angels get a run, lead for the first time in the series at the end of 3, 2-1. (1965). Sandy Koufax completed the 4th and final no-hitter of his remarkable career, saving the best for last. To this day, he remains the only Dodger to record a perfect game. It is hard to believe, certainly the memory lingers on, but it's hard to believe 50 years went by since that magnificent, memorable evening at Dodger Stadium. Oh, by the way, just to add one note that I don't think I've ever heard, because in those days nobody even talked about it, the pitch count. How many pitches did Sandy Koufax make in his perfect game? Adrian Gonzalez checked swing, no swing, ball 1. Well, the answer is Koufax pitched his perfect game in 113 pitches, throwing 79 strikes. Two to 1, favor the Angels, top of the 4th. Gonzalez, Turner, and Ethier. Adrian walked in the 1st inning. Fastball foul back, 1 ball and 1 strike. Trying to talk a little bit about Sandy's perfect game on the 50th anniversary. 1 ball, 1 strike. Breaking ball off the plate, 2-1. Anyway, as we usually do at the end of the 5th inning, 2 little tiny stories you might never have heard about or read. We'll try to duck that in. 2-1. Ball 3. Gonzalez has walked 55 times. Foul ball. 55 walks, 93 strikeouts. Fastball is low, ball 4. So the Dodgers get the tying run aboard, opening up the 4th inning. Garrett Richards gave up that leadoff home run. That's the only hit he's allowed, and he has walked Gonzalez twice. So that'll bring up Justin Turner. Turner's already sparkled in the field. Richards very, very successful at home. Ball 1. At home, Richards 9 wins and 4 losses. On the road, 4 wins, 6 losses. His earned run average at home is 3. On the road, it's almost 5. Fastball missed, and that's as high up as he's gotten tonight, 97 miles an hour. Another thing about Richards, before the All-Star break in his career, he's 24-13. After the All-Star break, 13-14, 1 under. And a breaking ball that wrinkles in nicely. 2-1. That was kind of a John Smoltz slider that we were talking about. Turner did not agree with the plate umpire, Sam Holbrook. Two and one. Fastball strike. I think Justin's a little annoyed on that one. 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. 2-1 Angels, 4th inning. And Justin is fit to be tied, muttering at the plate umpire. So an unhappy at bat, but he has also struck out twice now. So Andre Ethier coming up. Garrett Richards has struck out 7. Andre Ethier hit into a force play in the 1st inning. Richards has really smoothed out his delivery. It was pretty much of a herky-jerky delivery. Ball 1. The pitching coach for the Angels, Mike Butcher, has done a very good job with Garrett Richards. Started back in 2012 in spring training. One ball and no strikes. Fastball missed. One of the things Richard was doing, and it was to concern of Angel management, he was throwing so far across his body. Oh, sure, it added deception, but it also put extra strain on his shoulder. But he's learned to stay down and through in his delivery to minimize the possibility of injury. 2-0. That's on the corner. Good fastball, I should say, at 97. So the 4-seamer he can throw at 97. and he throws the sinking fastball at 96. 2-1. And chopper to the right side. Featherston had a little trouble, but they still turned the double play. So 4-6-3 if you're scoring. No runs, a walk, nobody left. And at the end of 3.5 innings, 2-1, Angels. To you by the 2015 Jeep Cherokee. With an EPA estimated 31 highway MPG, it's the perfect choice. Visit Jeep.com today. Angels lead the Dodgers 2-1 here in the 4th inning. And for the Angels, it'll be Eric Ibar, followed by David Freese, and then Carlos Perez. Ibar doubled, line drive into the gap in right center, and scored the run. That was in the 2nd inning. And then Featherston tripled, came home on the fly ball in the 3rd. Dodger run on the very first pitch of the game. Scott Chebley hit a home run. They haven't done a thing since against Garrett Richards. 1-1 to Eric. Ibar first came up to the Angels back in 2006. He's done on that play, 1 away. David Freese. After Ibar had doubled in the 2nd inning, Freese doubled to pick him up, drive him in. That tied up the game 1-1, and then Featherston tripled in the 3rd, and the Angels, for the first time in the series, got out in front. Fouled away. 0-1 the count. David Freese, in his last 8 games, hitting about .395. Fastball. 1 ball and 1 strike. It's amazing the Dodgers have 1 run, 1 hit on 1 pitch, the leadoff pitch of the game. And did he get him? Just missed. 2-1 to David. Whelan rushed into the breach when Matt Latos couldn't pitch. Fastball driven down the right field line, foul. Everything Freese hits, fair or foul, it seems, right on the button. 2-2 to David. And that almost hit him. 3-2. Fastball. Wheelan now ready to make his 70th pitch. Jimmy Garcia was up a little earlier. Dodgers are moving around in the bullpen. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Fastball, line to left. Schebler makes the catch. Nice play by Scotty on that line drive. So 2 down. Carlos Perez coming up. Carlos struck out in the 2nd inning. Schebler got a good jump. They always say the toughest play for an outfielder is that line drive hit right at you. He has some sink on it, and Scotty got a good jump and stayed with it. Dodgers moving him a little bit now as Carlos Perez checks in. Perez hitting .231. J.P. Howell begins to warm up in the Dodger bullpen. Because the Dodger bullpen, like the Angels, really worn out. Last night, Nicasio, Baez, and Jansen. Line drive and a great stab by Justin Turner. So a couple of balls hit hard for outs. And at the end of 4, it's the Angels 2 and the Dodgers 1. Monday, September 20th, Dodgers and Pirates, and you will each receive a Clayton Kershaw pin. That'll be the final pin in the Cy Young Pin Collector Series presented by 76. So for more information, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Kershaw next on line for the pin. Anderson, Heisey flanking him. Meanwhile, here's Corey Seager. And a strike. Seager struck out in the 2nd inning. Garrett Richards has struck out 7. He has walked 2. Gonzalez each time. Big slip. 1-1. Garrett Rich talking about he would have been a chef had he not become a baseball player. has a line drive that explodes on the mound and carries through. So Corey Seager bangs one up the middle to give the Dodgers a base hit. It's only their second hit. Remember, the other was that first pitch home run. Nobody out. Van Slyke, followed by Peterson and Barnes. Seager has one stolen base. Flipped to first, but he's back. 0-1. Thinking about stolen bases, it's amazing. Remember, early in the year, from April through the first week of August, the Dodgers had 22 stolen bases, last in the major league. Since the 7th of August, they have taken off and stolen 28 to tie the Marlins. One reason why they've improved so dramatically. 1-1 the count to Scott Van Slyke. Of course, when you have somebody like Davey Lopes around, and when you see Maury Wills, that was the trademark for the Dodgers for so many years, the stolen base. Now they've gone back to it, and they become very successful. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cron wants to talk to Garrett Richard a little bit. They are looking over towards the Angel bench. Let's see what this is all about. There's Mike Scioscia checking. Well, Scioscia's coming out. For Seager, he didn't slide. He kind of jumped at the bag. Cron thought that maybe they had gotten him. Scioscia has requested a review, and they're going to get it. Seager, when he takes a lead, he is in a strange position. He's not erect, but almost. He doesn't give you the thought when he takes the lead that he would ever try to steal a base. So he made it a very close play. The league loved to run against Richard in the early days. His first year, they stole 8 out of 10 against him, 10 out of 15 the next year, 10 out of 13 the third year. But then he has settled down now, and base runners are 4 for 8. Well, we'll wait and see. There was a gesture by the Angels. They thought they had picked him off. The umpires will tell us whether they were right or not. Beach ball is being retrieved in right field. Seager waiting for the judgment. Well, we'll wait. Players wait. If you have anything to do, why don't you do it quickly, and I'll let you know how it came out. See how he jumped across the bag? That's what they're appealing, that the tag was on his back as he jumped across the bag. The jury is still out. Close play. 3 minutes and 20 seconds so far on a pickup throw to first base. Seager hoping not to be found guilty. Scioscia, the prosecuting attorney, feels he has a win. Okay. Out. I don't think we really have it on tape. Not the jump back, not just before the jump back to first, but the way he takes a lead is rather strange. The Seager is picked off. We have one out here in the 5th inning. From up here, it looks like there's no way he's going to run from that position. It looks a little too casual. There's the jump over the bag, and he's pinned. Meanwhile, foul ball. Well, when you have Davey Lopes coaching at first base, you have a great coach to talk about setting up, taking your lead, the crossover step, all of the things involved in a big league stolen base. One and two the count to Scott Van Slyke, who flied to right field in the 2nd inning. Garrett Richards, after the Dodgers saw 2 rookie pitchers, Nick Tropiano game 1, Andrew Heaney game 2. Now a thoroughbred out there, and Richards trying to win his 14th, and that will take care of Van Slyke. That's also the 8th strikeout for Garrett Richards in 4 2/3 innings. D-backs are leading the Giants 2-1 in the 7th inning. The Giants scored the run on a wild pitch by Andrew Chafin. So it's 2-1 D-backs, 7th inning. Here's Jock Peterson. 0-1. Remember, the D-backs have beaten the Giants 8 of 15. Dodgers are heading for Arizona. They've beaten Arizona 9 of 12. Peterson struck out in the 2nd inning, has a lot of company. 8 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings. Ground ball to Ibar, who was on the other side of the infield, and that'll be that. The pickoff play slowed the Dodgers in their tracks. No runs, a hit, nobody left at the end of 4 1/2, 2-1 Angels. Your Southern California Toyota dealers.
The time is short, but the savings are big at Toyota's Clearance Countdown going on now.
2-1 in favor of the Angels. Bottom of the fifth inning. Joe Whelan went 4, gave up 2 runs and 4 hits. And now Yimi Garcia coming in his 41st game, 3-3. You remember he worked hard and well, went down to the minors, called him back up, and here he is. He will be pitching to Taylor Featherston, then Cole Calhoun, and Mike Trout. Featherston tripled into the left field corner in the 3rd inning, came home on the sac fly by Cole Calhoun, and that broke the 1-1 tie. Featherston, like David Freese, is hot. He has 6 hits in his last 10 at-bats, including that triple. He tripled on a 2-ball, 2-strike pitch that has been a weakness. He was just 2 for 24 until he got that triple. However, on the first pitch and the 0-1 count, he has been very successful. So let's see what he does now. Fastball strike. On the 0-1 count, Taylor Featherston is hitting .545. That's a big number for a guy hitting right around 200. Breaking ball, check swing, no swing. And the count, 1 ball, 1 strike. Yimi Garcia from the Dominican, from Mocha, signed by the Dodgers back in 2009. Looked like a little wrinkle of a breaking ball. 2-1. Yimi is 6'1", 175. For Mattingly having to be very careful with his bullpen. Fastball lifted to center. Peterson has to go back a little bit. So Featherston, a fly ball, 1 down here in the 5th inning. And the batter will be Cole Calhoun. Rounded to 3rd and then had the sac fly to break the 1-1 tie. Hitting behind him, Mike Trout. If you are a hitter hitting in front of Trout and Pujols, you're figuring 2 things. You're going to get a lot of fastballs because they don't want Trout and or Pujols coming up with a runner at first. Calhoun has had some trouble. Strike, having struck out 128 times, but he does have a 7-game hitting streak and 22 home runs. 0-1. And fastball grounded foul. 0-2. Calhoun out of Arizona State, signed by the Angels 8th round back in 2012. Actually, they signed him in 2010, and he was in the big league 2012. He had 17 home runs last year, 22 this year. And add 1, make it 23. That's off the plate. Calhoun was furious at himself for striking out in the 9th inning last night. He hated the idea of making the last out. There was also a runner at 3rd at the time, and when he struck out in the 9th, he had struck out 3 straight times after having a home run and a single. Fastball away, and he's badly fooled on a pitch way out of the strike zone. So 2 down, and now here's Mike Trout. Now you just saw Calhoun chasing a pitch way off the plate. Last year when you studied Mike Trout, He hit 173 on pitches that were up in the upper half of the zone, and some of them were out of the zone. This year, he was hitting 309 on that same pitch. However, of late, he started to go back like last year. That's a strike. Mike admitted that last year, when he struck out over 180 times, almost every time he would swing at the high fastball, and almost always it was out of the strike zone. 1-1. Dodgers are on a record pace talking about strikeouts. The pitchers are on a pace for 1,405 strikeouts. Off speed, popped up, right side, Utley. All right, down go the Angels. Story time coming up. All about Sandy Koufax. 2-1 Angels. Koufax perfect game. Ron Santo, the Cubs third baseman, led off and fouled out to Jeff Torborg, and he said to Torborg, "We're going to get him." In the fifth inning, Santo came up and hit a fly ball, and the next time he came up to bat, Koufax threw him three of the most hellacious curveballs, and as Santo walked away, he said, "Forget it, it's all over." The other one has to do with Harvey Keene, but let's get back to this one. In the ninth inning of Sandy's perfect game, Joe Amalfitano, who had beaten the Dodgers with a couple of clutch hits early in the year, came up as a pinch hitter and struck out. And then Harvey Keene, and you heard, I guess, forever, 2-2 to Harvey Keene. Anyway, Keene and Amalfitano are crossing paths, and apparently Joey looked at Keene, shook his head as if to say, "Wow, is he on his game?" And Keene said to Joey, "I'll be right back," and struck out, as you know, and Sandy had the perfect game. Well, there's ball 4 to Austin Barnes. Tying run aboard, nobody out, sixth inning. Garrett Richards has walked 3, twice walking Adrian Gonzalez, and now the number 9 hitter, and that'll bring up Schebler. Scott Schebler hit the first pitch of the game over the center field wall. Then last time up, struck out. They've loaded up the right side. Foul ball. Take a look at Schebler in the very first inning before people were seated. Fastball, strong enough to hit it over the center field wall. So Schebler got the Dodgers started. However, the Angels now lead 2-1 in the sixth inning. Not too often that you see them load up one side with a runner on base. 1-1. Ibar way over second base. David Freese all alone on the other side. So Austin Barnes at first. Nobody out in the sixth. 2-1 Angels. In the dirt, bluffed by Perez. Two runs, 4 hits for the Angels, 1 run, 2 hits for the Dodgers, and we're in the sixth inning. And that misses. Richards still throwing at 96. He has made 76 pitches. He has Chase Utley on deck. 3-1 the count to Scott Schebler. And a strike, 3-2. And you can see Richards hits 97 on the gun. Barnes going, and a slicing foul ball down the line back into the crowd. So they play run and hit, 3-1. Now we have a full count. So if they're running Barnes 3-1, they might very well be running in 3-2. On a 3-2 count, Freese has moved way over, so he's really the shortstop. We'll watch Barnes, so will Richards. Barnes going, 3-2, strike 3, throw down, safe. So Schebler strikes out. Barnes steals second. So the tying run is out there. And the batter will be Chase Utley. Ibar trying to make the tag. Barnes in there. Chase Utley has struck out twice. That's 9 strikeouts for Garrett Richards. 9. Mike Butcher's going out to talk to his pitcher. Utley struck out in the first and struck out in the third. Chase has struck out 7 times in the 3 games. So it's been a tough series for him. Up there now with 1 out, tying run at second base. Brief meeting on the mound. So Utley trying to pick him up. in the dirt. And did it hit him on the foot? Utley is going to first. So the Dodgers get a break. Scioscia's coming up, I think, as if to say, wait a minute, what happened there? Did he try to bunt? Must have grazed that back foot, his left foot. So Utley hit by the pitch. Dodgers are at first and second. And the batter is Adrian Gonzalez. Scioscia, I think, is wondering, did he try to bunt? The old story, if you try to bunt or if you swing at a pitch and you get hit by it, that's a strike. Sam Holbrook, the plate umpire, did not give any indication of a swing. Dino Abell on the phone says, nope, we lose that one. So Utley's at first, Barnes at second, one out. And here's Adrian Gonzalez. By the way, you want to talk about being accustomed to something? Chase Utley in his career has now been hit 177 times. Ground ball, foul down the line, 0-1. Over in the Angel dugout, Don Baylor was really hit by pitches because he looked big enough it would hit Don. They'd throw the ball out. It was damaged. 2 on, 1 out, 6th inning. Angels lead 2-1. Dodgers with Whelan for 4. Garcia has pitched an inning. And Richard going the distance with 9 strikeouts. That's as hard as he has thrown. 98 miles an hour. No balls and 2 strikes. And fouled away. And another 98. Don Baylor taking in the ball game. Talking about hit by pitch. He was hit 267 times in his career. Craig Biggio, who just went into the Hall of Fame, Craig was hit 285 times. So Utley at 177 is at first. Barnes at second. 1 out. Dodgers scratching for a run. Breaking ball in the dirt. One and 2 the count to Adrian. Barnes at second, Utley at first, 1 out. Got him. Slider down and dirty. 10 strikeouts for Garrett Richards. So Gonzalez strikes out after walking twice. Justin Turner coming up. Turner has struck out twice. They're in the 8th inning over in Arizona. Diamondbacks clinging to a 2-1 lead. They pitch Turner, fastballs way up and in. That's why he's been hit 12 times. Turner 15 home runs, 52 runs batted in, hitting .286. On deck, Andre Ethier. So a walk to Barnes. He stole second as Schebler struck out. Utley hit by a pitch, and then Gonzalez strikes out. and a breaking ball. So starts him with a high slider for a strike. 0-1. And another breaking ball for a strike. So after all those fastballs up and in, Richards comes back with a couple of sliders and has himself an 0-2 count. Oh, 2. Just off the corner. Sliders and curves, no fastballs yet to Turner. One ball and 2 strikes. Barnes at second, Utley at first, 2 out, 2-1 Angels, 6th inning. There's the fastball and a high fly ball to deep right center. Crowd at the wall. So Justin Turner, after a couple of breaking balls, gets a fastball, and Mike Trout has to go to the wall to make the catch. No runs, no hits, 2 left, and at the end of 5.5, 2-1 Angels. Tomorrow night they'll go over to Arizona, and they'll play in Phoenix Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, then come home and will enjoy a long and they hope profitable homestand, starting with Colorado. But Don Mattingly checking his pitchers, also checking his hitters. In that inning, Garrett Richards made 21 pitches. He's made 89 pitches in the game, and the Dodgers come up a buck short. Justin Turner got a couple of breaking balls for strikes, finally got the fastball he was looking for, and Mike Trout picked it off at the wall. Now it'll be Albert Pujols, David Murphy, and C.J. Cron. Pujols tapped to short, tapped to third, but actually on that ground ball, Justin Turner made a good play. Pujols with a bad foot, doesn't run well. The foot is painful enough that he says he can't play first base. Ball 1. For the Dodgers, they close up the shortstop hole. Seager is on the rim. Turner is guarding the foul line. So a big difference from Seager to the second base bag. 1-0. Strike. The great Pujols, they were looking at the schedule for next year, hoping that the Angels would play in St. Louis. And the answer is no. A little breaking ball strike, 1-2. And they said to Pujols, well, maybe the year after or that. And he said, I might be retired by then. They'd love to see him. 555, that's where he is with home runs. Hard ground ball, backhanded by Seager. The long high throw, but it's a comfort to be on the left side, throwing to a big first baseman like Van Slyke. So 3 ground balls to take care of Pujols. Justin Turner, who seems to have the gift of making everybody laugh, takes care of it with Seager, 1 down. David Murphy fouled out and walked. David is 0 for 1. And lines it to right. Going back is Ethier. And we have 2 down. 2 down in the 6th. Trout singled in the 3rd. That was the last base hit for the Angels. C.J. Cron flied to left and struck out. 0 for 2. 11 home runs, 39 runs batted in. He has some sock. He is not as good a first baseman as a healthy Albert Pujols. Right, 0-1. Same 2 pitches, and the count, no balls, 2 strikes. Dodgers in the 7th will be Ethier, Seager, and Van Slyke. And a fastball fouled off. 0-2. Last we checked, it was still 2-1 favor of Arizona in the 8th inning. Fastball got him. So a 2-out fastball hits Cron. And the batter now will be Eric Ibar. Garrett Richards, remember, hit Chase Utley in a bunt situation. Hit him on the foot. So Cron at first. Ibar has doubled and grounded out. Utley took one on the shoelaces when he was around to bunt. And a strike. 0-1. And a line drive to center. Here comes Peterson. That'll be that. So Ibar hit it right on the screws and right at Jock Peterson. No runs, no hits, a hit batter and a man left. And at the end of 6, 2-1 Angels. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Choose Nissan.com. And by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Use promo code BlueCrew for free entry. The Angels holding on to a 2-1 lead thanks to a magnificent job for 6 innings by Garrett Richards. Richards has struck out 10. He has hit a batter, and he has walked a couple, but he has really been on his game. Dodgers have only 2 hits, and that's ball 1. They had Schebler's leadoff home run, and then Seager's leadoff single in the 5th inning, only to have the rookie picked off. Trevor Gott gets up in the Angel bullpen. Jim Johnson is up in the Dodger pen. That's a strike. 1-1. Andre Ethier. Double-decker bullpen. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball hit the center, but Trout is at the other end of it. 1 away. Say, friends, tomorrow on an all-new Backstage Dodgers, Justin Turner hosts a very special fan for the day as he throws out the first pitch. Plus, go behind the scenes of the team's sweep of the Giants. So don't miss Backstage Dodgers tomorrow at 7 on Sportsnet LA. Every day's a lesson. Here's Corey Seager. Struck out, singled, only to be picked off. Fastball, fly ball down the line. Murphy is there. Quickly 2 out in the 7th inning. Scott Van Slyke coming up, fly to right, struck out 0-for-2. We are looking at Garrett Richards and his performances. He's made 93 pitches. This is an area from 91 to 105 where the opposition is hitting 290 against him. So we'll see how he survives the next 12 pitches. That's a strike. No balls in, 1 strike to Scotty. Hitting .255, 5 home runs, 27 runs batted in. Well, Richards hits 97 on the gun on his 95th pitch. 1-1. Whoa, fastball turned him around. 2-1. Richards has been wild, as we mentioned, 14 wild pitches. Chopper to the hole. Featherston takes care of it. So a quick 1-2-3 inning in the 7th inning. And we are heading for the bottom of the 7th, 2-1 Angels.
1,000 in attendance will receive a Vince Scully bobblehead presented by Mercedes-Benz Dealers of Southern California. For tickets, go to Dodgers.com/promotions.
Garrett Richards made short work of the Dodgers in the 7th inning. He only made 8 pitches. So he's got 7 innings under his belt, and he's only made 97 pitches. Meanwhile, the Dodgers go to the bullpen for Jim Johnson. Wheeland went 4, Garcia went 2, and now the big right-hander comes in. By the way, talking about pitchers, remember the Cincinnati Reds coming to Dodger Stadium? And they had that string of rookie pitchers, one after the other, trying desperately to get well. It didn't really pay off for the year. Cincinnati right now about 30 games behind the Cardinals. However, what's important, tomorrow, John Lamb, who's from our neck of the woods, made his debut at Dodger Stadium during the string of rookies. Well, John Lamb, pitching tomorrow, would tie the record for consecutive starts by a rookie pitcher, and that's going all the way back to 1902. The Cardinals in 1902 had 41 consecutive rookie pitchers, and the Reds tomorrow, if Lamb goes, will tie the record, 41. Here's David Freese. Freese was on the DL. Since he has come back, he's hitting .393 with 5 doubles. One of the 5 doubles came in the 2nd inning when he drove in a run. Fastball chopped to the right side to Utley. One out. Carlos Perez coming up. Carlos Perez struck out and lined out. Nice play by Justin Turner in the 4th inning. That was the last inning for Wheeland. He gave up a line drive to the left fielder Schebler, line drive to Perez, and they lifted him. So Joe did well. He wasn't supposed to pitch. Latos couldn't pitch. Wheeland went 4 and allowed just 2 runs. In the Dodger bullpen, as Matt Latos looks on, Luis Avilan gets up and begins to warm up. One ball and 1 strike. Perez followed by Featherston. Featherston, the on-deck hitter, is the difference in the game. They're now in the bottom of the 8th inning in Arizona, and the Diamondbacks are leading 2-1. Featherston tripled in the 3rd inning, and the run he brought in is the difference in the game. That's a strike. 2-2. Angels trying to pick up a victory. They've lost all 5 previous meetings. That's in the dirt. And going back to the 3 they lost last year, Dodgers have beaten them 8 straight. So it's not a happy crew. Looking on especially last night's starter Andrew Heaney with the mustache. 3-2 the count. Kershaw and Anderson taking it in. Comebacker. 2 down here in the 7th inning. And here comes Taylor Featherston. Johnson is a big man, 6'5", 225, so he handled that comebacker very easily. So Featherston tripled, fly to center, hitting 171. Joey Giovitella, who was doing a good job hitting 265 and playing second base, has a vision problem. He ran into that bunt. Yep. So Featherston, trying to get to first base, ran into his own batted ball. It was immediately called by Sam Holbrook. Dodgers leave the field, and Mike Scioscia has a few words. Are you calling him out? He said, yeah, he ran into it, and it was pretty obvious up here. So Featherstone is out. Give the catcher the put out. We're done in the 7th. Take another look. He runs, he bunts, and it hits him out of the batter's box. 2-1, Angels. Angels lead 2-1. Schebler homered on the first pitch in the game. Cole Calhoun had a sac fly to tie it up. Then they went on the triple by Featherston to take the lead. Richards has been magnificent, and he has a new third baseman. Caleb Cowart will take over at third base for David Freese. And a line drive slicing into the left field corner. Peterson on his way for 2 as Murphy gets the ball back in. So the Dodgers have the tying run at second base and nobody out. Looking back through the game, the Dodgers had Seager get aboard with a single and was picked off. Adrian Gonzalez walked in the 4th inning and never left first base. Barnes walked and stole second and stayed there in the 6th inning. And now Peterson doubles, opening up the 8th. So the Dodgers have certainly had their chances. And here's Austin Barnes. And the theory is he'll be bunting. Shows bunt. And gets it down. Good bunt. Cowart fires to first. Over to third goes Peterson. And the Dodgers 90 feet away from tying it up. And a good job for Austin Barnes to get the bunt down. So with 1 out, Scott Schebler coming up. Down in the bullpen for the Angels, Joe Smith and Trevor Gott. Schebler homered and struck out twice. Now let's see, Mike Butcher going out to the mound. We can tell you a little bit about Caleb Cowart. He's just outside the meeting. He's from 2 little towns. They have to be 2. One in Georgia, Adekam. Adekam. He's also moved to Adel, Adel, Georgia. Glenn, have you ever heard of those 2 towns? No, sir. They are small towns. Caleb Cowart. All right. Here is Schebler, 1-4-3. The infield is up. 0-1. Schebler looking down to Ron Renicky for the moment. Remember one thing about Garrett Richards. He has 14 wild pitches. And look out. There was a save by Carlos Perez. 14 wild pitches. The 14 this year. He has 47 wild pitches over the last 3 years. Nathan Carnes with 15, Tyson Ross 12, and Garrett right in the middle with 14. All right, 1-1. Off the plate. Garrett struck out Gonzalez to give him 10 back in the 6th inning. We're in the 8th. Peterson at third, 1 away. Schebler going after that high 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Richards has now made 103 pitches. He's actually got up to 120. 2-2. Off-speed breaking ball. So from 97 to 81, you talk about the big leagues, and down goes Schebler. So he hits the first pitch of the game for a home run and strikes out 3 times after that. 11 strikeouts for Garrett Richards, a career high, and now he has Chase Utley, whom he has struck out twice. Peterson down the line from third, representing the tying run. And a strike. Utley's had trouble making contact throughout the series. He has struck out 7 times. Last time he came up to bunt and was hit on the foot. 0-1. Oh, and 2. Angels scored a run in the 2nd inning on back-to-back doubles. They scored a run in the 3rd on a triple by Featherston and a sacrifice fly. The Dodger run, a home run in the 1st inning on the first pitch. Home run by Scott Schebler, and now here we are in the 8th. 0-2. Yeah, he's huffing and puffing a little on a very hot night. 0-2. Now back. Still throwing hard. 96. Garrett Richards is 6'3", 215 pounds. Born in Riverside, lives in Oklahoma. 27 years old. Started the game 13 wins, 10 losses. All right, 0-2. One and 2. Crowd oohing and eyeing. That wasn't very close. And meanwhile, Peterson waits. His 109th pitch. Curveball slapped down the line. Extra base hit. Slow curveball, and Utley puts the bat on it and ties up the game. Boy, that's a pitch I'm sure Richards would love to have back. 2 strikes, and he hangs a curveball. Hanging the curveball to a hitter who had struck out 7 times. And now here comes Mike Sosa. Up there, down there, and Chase just slapped it. So Utley ties it up as he doubles in Peterson, who had doubled. And we'll be right back. More photo for a chance to be shown in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Jose Alvarez coming in. The Dodgers 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors. They've left 3. The Angels 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors. They have left 4. They're in the 9th inning in Arizona, and the D-backs are leading the Giants 2-1. So here comes Adrian Gonzalez, who has not hit the ball tonight. He has walked twice and struck out. Carlos Perez reminding the relief pitcher how the infield is set up, the fact there's 2 outs. And Utley, a tiebreaker out there at second base. And Alvarez worked a third of an inning, made only 4 pitches in the first game. Pitched the 7th inning last night and made 7 pitches. Whipsawed that thing, check swing, no swing. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jose Alvarez is from Barcelona, Venezuela. 5'11", 180, 26 years old. 1-2. Jose originally drafted by the Red Sox in 2005. He was a minor league pitcher of the year a couple of years later for the Detroit Tigers. One and 2. Got him. Well, Adrian still hasn't hit the ball. 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Utley doubles in the tying run, and we go to the bottom of the 8th in a 2-2 tie. MLB.Premium, you can watch every out-of-market game live on more than 400 supported devices. Real-time highlights and live look-ins and more. Visit MLB.TV today. Well, for the Dodgers, they're tied up, but they still get a boost. Arizona has just held on and beaten the Giants 2-1. So the so-called magic number is now 15. It also means the Giants have now lost 9 of the last 12. And remember that note we gave you at the very start of the game. That's the most important of all. Should the Dodgers split their last 24, that includes tonight, if they split, that would then give them 92 victories. In order for the Giants to get 92 victories, they'd have to win 20 of the last 23 to get a tiebreak. So the Dodgers are certainly in a good spot. Brad Ziegler got a 5-out save for Arizona in the 9th inning. So Luis Avilan will now pitch to Calhoun, Trout, and Pujols. Bottom of the 8th, 2-2. Totals identical. 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors, and 4 left for each side. Oh, and 1. Calhoun grounded to third, had the sac fly to score a run in the 3rd inning. It picked up Featherston and put the Angels ahead. Last time up, he struck out. Avilan is from Caracas in Venezuela. 6'2", 200, 26 years old, originally signed by the Braves. 0-1. 1-1. When Avilan, who's working hard against Cole Calhoun, was signed, he was a tender 16 years old. First time got a taste of the big leagues 3 years ago. 1-1. Calhoun has struck out 129 times. Avilan made 9 pitches in relief in the first game. 1-2. One and two to Cole Calhoun. Bottom of the 8th inning, 2-2. Tremendous game turned in by Garrett Richards. Whelan, Garcia, Johnson all did well. So they're tied up coming down the stretch. 1-2. Check swing. No swing. 2-2. Remember last night, Mike Scioscia was kicked out on a check swing. 2-2. And hit down the right field line. Fair ball. Ethier over to get it. And it gets away from him. And Calhoun is around second. And he will be in third. Probably a double to right and an error charge to Ethier. Ball was well hit. Down in the corner. Andre racing over and failed to come up with it cleanly. And that gave Calhoun the extra base. So Calhoun doubles to right. Takes third on the error charge to Ethier. And now with a go-ahead runner at third. And all you have to do is get Trout, Pujols, and Murphy. And here comes Don Mattingly. He will go to the pen. Pedro Baez would be brought in to face Trout and Pujols. Baez, who pitched briefly 7 pitches last night and gave up a run and a couple of hits. We'll be right back. You buy Jack in the Box. For a limited time, try the new Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack with melted garlic herb butter. And buy Flex Alert. This summer, the power is in your hands. FlexAlert.org. All right, the Angels get a double and an error by Andre Ethier on the ball coming into the right field corner. So Baez comes in, and the Dodgers hope that he can come up with a couple of those 50 strikeouts that he has. Mike Trout with a runner at third will be coming up. He has flied to center. That would be deep enough to pick up the run. He has singled to right, and last time up grounded out. So Trout followed by Pujols. You want to talk about a challenge offered to a pitcher. That's the way it is cut out for Pedro Baez. Trout hitting .294, 34 home runs, 76 runs batted in. Pedro Baez, the boy from Bani in the Dominican Republic. He's big, 6'2", 200, 27 years old. Dodgers signed him way back in 2007. There he is. Throws very hard. The question is the movement of the pitch. And a strike. And a nice cool 98. Again, if there isn't movement on that pitch, no matter high the number, these fellas will eat you up. Infield, up on the right, about halfway, not on the grass. Fastball, another 98. 1 ball and 1 strike to Mike Trout. Interesting how things worked out. When the Cardinals lost Albert Pujols to free agency, they wound up getting Michael Wacha. And when the Angels lost Mark Teixeira to free agency, they had a compensatory draft pick, and they got Mike Trout. So Trout and Pujols with a runner at third, nobody out. 1-1. And that at 91. Baez with a runner at third. You look it up. He does not have a wild pitch. One ball and 2 strikes. Big chopper foul. Baez up and down in the minor leagues. Throws the fastball up to 98, and he also has a slider. He does not have a changeup. He's in there for lights out. Bottom of the 8th, 2-2. Giants lost. The magic number is now 15. Giants have now lost 9 of the last 12, while the Dodgers have won 13 of the last 15. So the last 2 weeks have just broken the back of the National League West. 1-2. Ground foul. That was questionable around the knees at 91 miles an hour. In the Angel bullpen, Houston Street warming up. We should check on Texas. That's so important for the Angels. Looks like 6-0 Seattle. Fastball. Wow, at 99. So Trout strikes out, but that's only one out. How in the world can you hit it? How in the world can the umpire call ball a strike at 99? He knows. Now let's see. Honeycutt gone out to talk to Pedro Baez. Albert Pujols, 3 ground balls tonight. He could easily have 2 more hits. One last Monday night and then one tonight. This was a play by Seager where he took a hit away from Albert. And then the other, the diving, smothering stop by Justin Turner to get him. So a couple of very good defensive plays to rob Pujols. But now here he comes. 1 out, runner at third. That double by Calhoun was the first hit by the Angels since Trout's single in the 3rd inning. It's been that kind of a game. So there's Cole, and here's Pujols. Ethier, of course, in a haste to stop the runner at second, committed the error to allow him to get to third. One ball and no strikes. By the way, should the Angels get a run, Andre Ethier will have a chance to atone. He bats second in the 9th inning, and you can bet he's thinking about that. Albert Pujols, 35 home runs, 82 runs batted in. And a shot up the middle. So that cashes in Calhoun. Pujols gets himself a big RBI. And the Angels take a 3-2 lead. So he can stop Pujols and Trout once in a while. Sooner or later, one of the two will break through, and it is Pujols who does it. So the Angels lead 3-2 in the 8th. David Murphy will be coming up. 83 RBIs for Albert. Murphy has fouled out, walk, fly to right. As we said, the Giants lost, so no matter what, the Dodgers lop off a magic out. The magic number will be 15. Fouled away. 0-1. Dodgers so far on a 10-game road trip have won 5 out of 6, and they have 3 left in Arizona. They've had a lot of good fortune against Arizona throughout the year. Dodgers, no doubt, hoping to pick up even more. They have beaten Arizona 9 out of 12. 3-2, favor of the Angels. High foul, slicing down the left field line. It will drop untouched. Say one thing, Pujols is almost at third base. So he might have a sore foot. But he was running hard on that fly ball. Yeah, and DeSarcina, I think, said to him, "What are you doing? Why are you running so hard on a foul ball way down the line?" And that's when Albert gestured, "Hey, it looked like maybe it'll drop in fair ground." So Gary goes back to his spot. And Murphy with a no-ball, 2-strike count. 3-2 Angels, bottom of the 8th. Turner, Ethier, Seager coming up in the 9th. Foul back. Baez taking a lot. I guess pretty much that's Baez change. When you can throw 99, which is what he did to strike out Trout, he comes back with 90. What else are you going to call 90? A slip pitch? It got away from him. 0-2. I don't know what the kids are eating, but I have never seen so many pitchers who can throw mid to high 90s. Ever. Still 0-2. So Murphy giving it a battle. C.J. Cron on deck. Cron 0 for 2 was hit by a pitch last at bat. Dodgers tonight: Wheeland, Garcia, Johnson, Avilan, and Baez. and 2. 100 miles an hour. Can you believe that? Oh. One and two. And there goes the runner, Pujols, and he has stolen second base, except it's going to be a base hit, and the Angels have runners at first and third. So Albert was running, and I'll tell you what, he would have stolen the base had the ball not been hit into left field. There he goes. He's got a huge jump. Baez forgot about him, though he easily goes to third on a pop fly single to left. So first and third, Cowgill is now running for David Murphy. And here's C.J. Cron. Three runs, 7 hits for the Angels. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. The pitcher who might very well suffer the loss would be Avilan, who gave up the double to Calhoun and Vieira, and that run is charged to Avilan. So Baez in a mess now. Struck out Trout. Pujols and Murphy singled. Cron has flied to left, struck out, and hit by a pitch. So Albert felt like running, and now he's at third. Cron, 11 home runs, 39 runs batted in. Cowgill over at first base has 1 stolen base. One out, 8th inning, a run in. 3-2 Angels. Fastball blocked nicely. Austin Barnes. Baez in his 43rd game. 8 walks, 51 strikeouts. And a hard ground ball, Utley to Seager, and they get the double play. However, they got a run on a double, the error by Ethier, and a single by Pujols. So the Dodgers come up with Turner, Ethier, and Seager. 9th inning, 3-2 Angels. Colin Cowgill stays in the game in left field, taking over from David Murphy. Efren Navarro is now at first base for Albert Pujols. And on the mound, Houston Street. Houston Street started off being Rookie of the Year. He passed 300 saves in July when he saved a game against Minnesota. He is the youngest, second youngest to Francisco Rodriguez for having a 92% success rate. You may or may not know his dad, James, was not only an all-conference pitcher for the University of Texas, but he was also a great quarterback. Houston Street's dad wore number 16, and Street always wore number 16 until he came to the Angels, and he made a deal and got 16 from Hank Conger, who has moved on. All right, Street will be pitching to Turner, Ethier, and Seager. Ninth inning, 3-2 Angels. 0-1. Interesting looking back over the game. Utley doubled in the eighth inning to drive in Peterson, who had doubled. That certainly looked like a big hit. Ground ball to short. High bar. One away. And the batter will be Andre Ethier. Getting back, Chase Utley hit a double on a 1-ball, 2-strike count. It was the first Dodger hit tonight with 2 strikes in the count. He got 2 strikes on a Dodger hitter tonight, and the team went 0 for 12 with 11 strikeouts. So they were completely shut down by Garrett Richards, and then doubles in the eighth got them tied, but the Angels have untied it, and here's Andre. Right. Ethier hit into a force play, grounded into a double play, flied to center, and committed the error that allowed Calhoun's double to carry him to third, eventually scoring on the base hit by Pujols. That's off the plate. One and two. Houston Street is not really a big man. He's 6 feet tall, somewhere between 185 and 90. He was a first-round pick by the Oakland A's out of the University of Texas. Fastball away, 2-2. Houston is 32 years old, been in the big leagues since 2005. Talked about his dad. He passed away 2 years ago. And that's going to be hit right at Ibar. Soft line drive. And the Dodgers down to their last out. But again, the consolation, the Giants lost. So the magic number right now is 15. Any combination of Dodger victories and Giant losses. And the numbers we gave you at the very beginning. The Dodgers 24 games left starting tonight. If they win 12 of the 24, the Giants would have to win 20 of 23 in order to have a tiebreaker. So the numbers are way ahead for the Dodgers. 1 ball and no strikes. Little roller, charging, picking, throwing, and Featherstone comes up with the third out. So for the Angels, trying to stay alive, they began the night 4.5 behind Texas. They'll pick up a game to trail 3.5. Houston Street came in, made it look easy, making 9 pitches. Certainly the play of the game That would be Albert Pujols coming up with one out, runner at third, and a ground ball single up the middle to drive in the winning run. So that will more than do it for tonight. Dodgers will be in Arizona on the weekend. For all of us to all of you, we wish you a very pleasant good evening, everybody.